Welcome. In this video, we are going to comment a movie called Patch Adams. Adams Hunter is seen boarding a bus to go to a mental hospital. He does it because he wants to restore his soul after several attempts to end his life, because he feels vain in this world.
For more videos like this, subscribe and click the notification bell.
When he gets there, he is taken to his room immediately. In that room, he is not alone. There is another patient named Rudy. When he is about to greet Rudy, suddenly he screams, because he is hallucinating that a squirrel is going to attack him. Then Adams immediately calls for help. He becomes so sad because he sees how the officers behave very inhumanly when dealing with Rudy. He experiences the sadness again when he is consulting with a psychiatrist. He doesn't seem to care about him. He doesn't even look at him. One day, he decides to meet a patient named Arthur. He is a wealthy scientist who is considered crazy because his genius cannot be accepted by ordinary humans. At first, he underestimates the arrival of Adams. But when Adams patches his leaky glass, he immediately gives him the nickname Patch. After Arthur explains some facts, Adams realizes that he has been so focused on the complicated things and has never cared about the simple things in front of him. Arthur believes that Adams will be able to patch up the problems faced by the people around him. That night, Adams can't sleep because Rudy must go to the toilet, but he is afraid of being attacked by his hallucinatory squirrels. Hearing this, he spontaneously acts like a hunter and invites Rudy to shoot the squirrels until they disappear. Rudy is very happy now, and he can go to the bathroom. From then on, Adams realizes that his life should turn out to be useful. The next morning, he immediately decides to get out of the mental hospital. He declares that he will be a better doctor than the doctors there who treats patients inhumanly. Since then, he changes his name to Patch Adams. After 2 years, in his old age, he decides to attend medical school at Virginia Medical University. On his first day of college, he is attracted to a girl named Karen. After the lecture is over, he immediately approaches Karen. But Karen immediately rejects it, saying that she wants to focus on studying. It turns out there is a man who accidentally saw it. He is Truman. Truman says he had experienced the same thing. Knowing that they are in the same boat, Adams asks Truman to hang out. He tells all his experiences so far and his crazy ideas to become a doctor. He didn't expect Truman to be interested in his ideas. One day, the students takes a practical exam at the hospital. Their lecturer explains about a patient's illness. This made the patient feel uncomfortable and afraid. The students questions about her illness, but suddenly, Adams asks what the patient's name is, and he greets the patient. It turns out that simple things like that can make the patient smile. After that, he quietly walks out and visits pediatric cancer patients who look gloomy. He immediately entertains them by becoming a clown with the tools around him. Instantly, the children become so cheerful and happy that they forget the pain. He comes out happy. However, his actions are discovered by the dean. In the morning, he is summoned by the dean named Walcott. He receives a warning because it turns out that only students who has entered the 3rd year are allowed to make direct contact with patients. He tries to oppose, but Walcott firmly tells him to obey. A few days later, he gets a group assignment which turns out to be with Truman and Karen. When Karen is serious about studying, he invites her to talk about the medical system on campus, which he thinks is not quite right. This makes Karen uncomfortable, and she decides to get out of there. He feels very guilty about it. He tries to persuade her, but she is already fed up, and she can't understand how Adams can become a doctor if he only talks about unimportant things while studying. Days pass. Every day, he always returns to the hospital to comfort the children regardless of Wall's warnings. Thanks to his presence, the children become happy. Their parents, even the nurses, are very happy to have him there. Semester 1 ends. Each student's grades have been announced. Karen seems unhappy with her grades. She is very surprised to know that Adam's score is almost perfect. She didn't expect that the person she thought she knew would turn out to be such a smart person. And from then on, she begins to approach Adams, and she is willing to help him. In the evening, Adams invites Karen and Truman to comfort one of the patients at the hospital by surprise pretending to be an animal, and the patient is the hunter. The patient is very happy because he feels his dream has come true. Adams spontaneously asks the patient next to him named Kennedy. It turns out that since childhood, she has always played her mother say Dante, and since childhood, she always dreamed of being able to swim in spaghetti pool. When he returns from there, Karen expresses her admiration for Adams. On that occasion, Adams tries to confess his love. However, Karen does not answer him. She leaves Adams with her sweet smile. The next day, he comes for a patient named Bill, who is notoriously temperamental. Confidently, he sings a song for Bill, but Bill instead curses him and always talks about death. Frightened, Adams immediately rushes out of there to comfort the other patients. On this occasion, the patient and even the patient's parents are comforted. But suddenly, the dean comes and Adams comes right out. Wall scolds him for breaking the rules. Wall says patients don't need entertainment, but they need doctors. Adams replies that he comes to visit patients in his spare time, as a visitor, not as a student. But Wall refuses because Adams has to study. Also, his friend reported that he had been cheating on the exam. Without thinking, he meets the person he suspects. That is his roommates. He had reported Adams without evidence. He was very diligent in studying, and he even received several awards, and he is also the son and grandson of a famous doctor. But his grades were always below that of Adams, who he considered very unacademic thinking. But Adams doesn't want to waste time on such an insignificant matter. He leaves right away. He returns to the hospital without caring if he will be scolded by the dean. He comes back to Bill in an angel costume and recites poems about death. This manages to keep Bill entertained, and he is the only doctor who manages to get Bill to talk. As the days pass, Wall announces that their campus will host a seminar for America's top obstetricians. According to tradition, every year, he will appoint the most outstanding students to welcome the doctors, and one of the chosens is Adams. Several days passes, and the day of the seminar has arrived. With pride, Wall shows off that he has prepared their campus hall as well as possible. But when he gets there, he didn't expect that Adams has made a giant foot that depicts a woman who is giving birth. He is furious, and he has decided to expel Adams from the college. Adams can't do anything, but the chancellor helps him. After he gets reports from patients who feel very helped by Adams, and they feel that their quality of life is improving. Adams gets permission to continue his studies, but he is not allowed to go to the hospital again as a punishment until the lecture was over. In the evening, Karen comes to Adams' dormitory. There she gets birthday surprise from Adams and her friends. Adams reads her a romantic poem, however he couldn't finish it, and he promises to read the rest at the right time. After they talk, Karen says that she has never met a man as good as Adams. Suddenly, she kisses Adams. It is the most beautiful night of Adams' life. In the middle of the night, Adams comes to the hospital to meet Bill, who calls him. Bill, who is not strong with all the pain, he begs Adams to sing the song that Adams used to sing when he first met him. Holding back his tears, Adams sings. At the same time, Bill breathes his last. After Bill's death, he invites Truman to hang out to ease his grief. But in that place, he hears complaints from people there who were dissatisfied with the service from the hospital and the doctor, who they think is very complicated. Hearing this, he suddenly has an idea. Then he leaves them. At that time, he meets Karen to share his dream. He wants to establish a hospital that is uncomplicated and friendly to all kinds of life. 2 years have passed. He takes Karen to a hill. He says confidently that one day this beautiful place will become the hospital of his dreams. After that, he takes Karen to a small hut not far from there. Truman was waiting for them in the cabin. It is a gift from Arthur, his friend at the mental hospital, which he will use as his clinic. Clinic without complicated procedures, full of entertainment, and free. They are assisted by former patients in the mental hospital. They renovates the cottage with great joy. At night, Karen reveals the contents of her heart that she has been holding back all this time. She can't help but finds out that she has fallen in love with Adams, and she is willing to accompany him forever. If death has to separate them, then she would be a butterfly who would accompany Adams in times of trouble, like her dream as a child who wanted to be a butterfly. Adams is very moved to hear that, and they hug. In the morning, Karen wakes up and finds Adams sitting on her bed. He recites his poetry, which he has not finished reading before. But before he can finish reading, suddenly, Truman comes in to report the supplies that the clinic has run out. He immediately goes with Truman to look for all the shortcomings of their clinic needs. It is getting late, but they haven't come yet. Karen, who is at the clinic, receives a call from a patient named Larry who had previously been treated there. He asks someone to help him and come to his house. He just wants someone to listen to him. Karen goes to meet him. Arriving there, she is greeted well by Larry, even though Larry's behavior looks a little suspicious. In the morning, Adams is summoned to appear before the chancellor. He is told that his lover Karen has found shot dead by a man named Larry. After that, Larry committed suicide. Hearing this, his body immediately goes limp. He can't say anything. Karen's funeral day arrives, but he only dares to look from a distance. After everyone leaves, he approaches Karen's chest. There, he reads the last snippet of his poem, which he has never finished reading. Finally, he can't hold back his tears anymore. He rushes to pack his things from his clinic. He is sure that Karen died because of him. Truman tries to persuade him, but his efforts are in vain. Also, he decides to drop out of college. Suddenly, his roommate restrains him. He apologizes for his mistakes all this time. He realizes that what Adams has done so far in treating patients is a very appropriate effort. He asks Adams for help for his patient named Kennedy who does not want to eat. But he doesn't care, and he just leaves. He comes to the hill near his clinic. He feels his life is in vain again. He decides to commit suicide in that place. But when he is about to jump, suddenly a butterfly approaches. He gives up his intention because he is sure that Karen will always be by his side. After that, he returns to the hospital to help Kennedy. He remembers Kennedy's childhood dream of swimming in a spaghetti pool. Kennedy seems so happy, and she will never forget this most beautiful moment of her life. However, unexpectedly trouble comes to him. He gets a letter saying that he has been expelled from college. So he immediately meets the dean who does not want to respond, because everything is written in the letter. The main reason is because Adams opened the clinic without a permit. Wall says it makes a lot of people, including patients, feel uncomfortable. Adam is furious with Wall's argument. He intends to appeal to the board of doctors. Several days has passed and finally, the open trial for betting on Adams' fate has begun. He is asked why he found the clinic. He confidently replies that the medical methods at his college are inhumane, because it only emphasizes on the patient's disease, and not on the patient. The patients who come to this clinic also become doctors, because they care for each other and support each other. That is the real doctor's function. Death will be unavoidable. So what a doctor should do is not only to delay death, but also improve the patient's quality of life. He says he isn't afraid of being kicked out of college, and he isn't afraid that he won't be able to wear a white coat, but he will still be a doctor forever, for all patients who need the means. For a moment, the council fell silent. They asked for time to discuss. However, when they are about to leave, suddenly, the children come in. Not long after, the board of doctors enters the room again. The board of doctors declares that the Adams Clinic has not violated the law. They are grateful that he has helped so many people, also praises his method. In closing, they tell all that he has to learn more about medicine from Adams. Instantly, everyone give a round of applause to Adams. He never expected that so many people had supported his method all this time. Several months later, he finally graduates from college. From that day on, he is officially declared a doctor. He is ready to serve more patients with all his heart. For more videos like this, subscribe and click the notification bell. And don't forget to hit the like button. Also, you can check our other videos. Enjoy and take care.